talking about alliances, Hegseth, on his tour, he announced with his counterpart Gilberto Teodoro that a task force will be used, a joint task force, and it comes as part of that 1951 Mutual Defence Treaty. Now, analysts are saying, Ben, that this is a significant turning point. What's your view?
So, of course, what China has been doing in the South China Sea around especially Scarborough Shoal, I mean, a lot of the focus has really been the Philippines. The most dramatic images we have seen have come from the Philippines. And the Americans have watched this with great concern, and also the Americans are busy reinforcing or new deployments up in the sort of the Batanes Islands, which are in the Barsha Channel, so that sort of area of water that's between Taiwan and the Philippines. So there is a broader strategic message here that the Americans are giving when they look at their alliance with the Philippines, right? They're absolutely looking at the implications of what would happen in a Taiwan contingency.
Do you think it really helps to re-establish deterrence against China?
Certainly, it definitely gives this measure of support to the Philippines. It does help, of course, reinforce Philippine confidence and trust
not just
in the
that,
United
though. I mean,
States.
China would have to think very carefully about showing the same levels of aggression.
Well, you look at the freedom of navigation operations that the Americans and of course other allied nations have been doing in the South China Sea, not just around the Paracel Islands, but also much further south around the Spratly Islands. Those activities do help US allies, especially the Philippines, see, yes, the Americans are there, we're present.
Yeah, and Professor Liu, I mean, the point about that, the patrols, the exercises, they're periodic, they're sporadic. This, what I understand, is that we will be a more permanent, unified posture. Does it, what do we expect Beijing to do? Obviously, we would expect them to test this task force, like the resolve of the US and the Philippines. Do you see this as the US finally responding to China's grey zone? Because it's always managed to, it's kept it below the level of war. The different actors in the US are hesitant to act.
Very interesting. Before this new development, many people saw these incidents in the South China Sea between China and the Philippines. And every time they ask why, when China really broke through the line, even made some ramming in the sea. And people will say, how come the United States just watch, didn't do anything? Because during the time, the military assessment is, since China is coming into the South China Sea almost by daily basis, if any tiny incident inflict such a mutual defense treaty, the U.S. will have to get in. It is a much higher cost for the U.S. But I'm not quite sure, even with this new political understanding and agreement to move forward with a task force, whether the U.S. would like to put more resources, because if you really come up to confront with China, it will be almost on a daily basis. Coast Guard ship, militias, boats, sailing into the South China Sea, the Philippines and U.S. would have to really confront together almost every day. And I'm not quite sure at this moment whether the U.S. would have sufficient capabilities to face up to these gray zone tactics.